Hey everyone, hope you're all having a good day. Hope you're enjoying whatever you're reading. And yeah, the book I'm going to review for this session is Leave the World Behind by Rumaan alum. It was a read with Jenna pick. And it was a finalist for the National Book Award. It's also, I believe, a New York Times bestseller, or the author's a New York Times bestseller author. I have this stupid sticker I'm not going to take off and try to put back on. Because it was a book club read from my library. I'm going to read the back and then I'll give you my rating and review. Amanda and Clay head out to a remote corner of Long Island, expecting a vacation. A quiet reprieve from life in New York City, quality time with their teenage son and daughter, and a taste of the good life in a luxurious home they've rented for the week. But a late-night knock on the door breaks the spell. Ruth and GH are an older couple. It's their house, and they've arrived in a panic. They bring the news that a sudden blackout has swept New York, but in this rural area with the TV and internet now down and no cell service, it's hard to know what to believe. Should Amanda and Clay trust this couple and vice versa? What has happened back in New York? Is this the vacation home, isolated from civilization, truly a safe place for their families? And are they safe from one another? Leave the World Behind explores how our closest bonds are reshaped and unexpected ones are forged in moments of crisis. I gave this book a 3. Now, there were aspects of the book I did enjoy. I didn't like the connections that people were making. What I didn't like was the dystopic view of the world and the unforeseen. But I guess I could say that this is like our world now. Except we don't have the electricity going out just randomly, and the internet and the TV's not working. Now, what I enjoyed was that they were forced to get to know each other, to not rely on television and the internet for their entertainment and for each other, and just, commiserate, so to speak. And I guess in that way, it reminded me a lot of my childhood and teenage years. There was no internet. While we did have TV, it was an expectation. You just didn't watch a lot. And I, as a kid, didn't nearly watch as much as I did as a child, like as I do now. Now I just, if you could see the other side, you'd see a nice big flat screen on the opposite wall from me right now. So in any case, I felt that, it was very reminiscent of my own childhood and teenage years. I will tell you honestly, I didn't get a cell phone until I was 27, and I didn't get an iPhone until I was about 31. When I was about 30. I was almost 31 actually when I got my first iPhone. So I'm now in my late 40s. It's been almost 20 years since I got my first cell phone, and it's closing up on that. I know for sure, because it was the end of 2006 that I got my first cell phone. And then I got my first iPhone or internet capable device in 2011. Actually, in Christmas of 2010, and I was not a happy camper. But because I got a device that didn't work, I was like, why did I get the same type of device? And that's neither here nor there. But yeah, I managed to survive to get to places. I'd look them up online, or I would ask people for directions. How do you get there? We'd pick up the phone. We had one phone number in our household, and we had one line, but we had cordless phones all over the place. And I think we even had a tethered phone. I remember having a tethered phone, like one that was actually hooked into the wall, and you actually had to speak from that phone, and you couldn't go around the house. You could change phones while you were on that same line with somebody, but you have to, have the other receiver, the cordless receiver, and then put down the other line, the other phone. Hang that one up, and because otherwise you wouldn't be able to talk, or Anyways, so much has changed, and I can see, people who, and I have problems myself when there's no cell service, or there's no internet, or no TV. What do you do? But sometimes if I know ahead of time, I can plan for that. So, that being said, I have a hate-love relationship with dystopia. Some books I actually really kind of like Animal Farm and The Handmaid's Tale. And some books I absolutely loathe, like We by Zemyat and or The Flies by William Golding, which I understand is being made into a Netflix series, and is about to come on, or has come on by the time I posted this. This book has been adapted into a Netflix movie. So if your book club is looking for something that, if you do that, like you tie a book into a movie, then you can do that. That'd be great. You can see how the differences are, and I understand from people in my library book club who did do that, there are differences. I did give it a 3. I think I mentioned earlier, just a bit earlier. A lot for that, because I think it felt kind of just normal, other than the internet and TV issue and the other apocryphal things going on elsewhere. It wasn't like there was this big, it just kind of felt normal to me. I just like, well, what's the big deal about this book? It's well written. I will grant you that. But like I just said, dystopia is just not for me. It's not something I easily gravitate to. It has to be a certain type of dystopia, I guess. And if you like dystopia, you might like this. I'd be curious as to how the differences between the book and the movie, and I heard that there are some, not significant, but there's enough that it's different. So that was Leave the World Behind by Rumaan Alam, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Bye for now.